So the car I'm about to show you, the car that's sat right behind me here, is called a McRae GM3. It's the last in the series of Formula 5000 cars built by Kiwi racer and engineer and race car builder Graham McRae. The car began life as a Formula 5000 car, but evolved basically because he had to into a single-seat Can-Am car. McRae, of course, was a giant of the sport, particularly of Formula 5000 racing back in the 1970s. He won a lot of races, initially in McLaren M10A and M10B customer cars, and then he was involved in building his own car, which became the McRae GM1. There were a series of GM1 cars built, I believe about 14 cars built altogether, most of which were sold to customers. And with that car, McRae enjoyed huge success. He won the 1972 Tasman Series, he won the 1972 SCCA L&M Formula 5000 Series, and at the same time he also was bouncing back to England, where he was based at the time, and he finished second or third, I think third, in the 1972 British European Formula 5000 Series, despite missing several races. So McRae, he was an incredible competitor at the time. Following the GM1 came the GM2, another Formula 5000 car, and then this car here, the GM3, which initially was a Formula 5000 car, like I say, but it arrived right at the very end when Formula 5000 was falling out of favour. It's made its race debut in the very final Formula 5000 race, the very final SCCA Formula 5000 race at the end of 1976, following which the SCCA changed its Formula 5000 regulations because it was trying to reintroduce the magic of its old Can-Am series, its Can-Am sports car series, which had ended at the end of 1974. So essentially what this SCCA made Formula 5000 teams do is basically drop a sports car body on top of their F5000 cars. And from 1977 onwards, single-seat Can-Am became a new thing. And so this car evolved from the GM3 F5000 into what it is now and what it remains today, which is the GM9 single-seat Can-Am car. And it's a beast of a thing, and I absolutely love it, and I can't wait to show it to you. Here it is, the beast, the McRae GM9. So like I say, the car started life as a Formula 5000. It's actually a beautiful looking Formula 5000 too, but sadly for Graham McRae, who was really a dominant force and quite incredible in F5000 racing, sadly for him, the SCCA, the Sports Car Club of America, decided to try and rekindle some of the old magic it had with its Group 7 Can-Am series that had ended in 1974. And so for the 1977 racing season, it changed its Formula 5000 regulations and required the cars be a single-seat Can-Am car. Well, they called it the Can-Am series. All the mechanicals were still the same. It was still basically a Formula 5000 underneath. So teams running Lola T332s and things basically just literally draped a sports car body over the top of their F5000 cars. And so this car was initially called the GM3, and as a Formula 5000 car, it was actually a really beautiful looking thing. It was a wedge-shaped body, and I'll post up a couple of pictures of what it looked like. It had a clear driver canopy, which you can actually see up on the wall there. So the Rush family have managed to, just on the left-hand side there, the Rush families have the original canopy from the car. So you can actually see the driver doing its thing. It made its racing debut in the very final round of the 1976 SCCA L&M series, the Formula 5000 series. I think it finished 6th in one of the heats. And that was it. Like I say, they changed the regulations. So for 1977, McRae fitted a fairly ugly-looking Can-Am plus sports car body over the top of the car, and I believe he renamed it the GM5. And then for 1978, he reverted it back to an F5000 car, and he took it to Australia to race because Australia was really the only place in the world that was still running Formula 5000 at that time. And that was part of the problem. Basically, when the SCCA switched from F5000 to a single-seat Can-Am series, companies like Lola, who really supplied and built most of the cars that competed in Formula 5000 by that stage, they switched their focus to building single-seat Can-Am cars. And so the supply of F5000 chassis, or modern F5000 chassis, all dried up. But the Aussies were still racing F5000 in 1978. And they were still getting big fields, and the Aussies were actually converting Formula 1 cars over, fitting them with stock block V8 engines, 5-litre stock block V8 engines and stuff. And McRae ran this car in Australia in 1978, and he won the 1978 Australian Grand Prix. In fact, he won it by 2 laps, so he completely dominated the race. And then he brought it back to New Zealand. He was from Wellington, brought it back to Wellington, and he had metal fabricator, hugely talented metal fabricator Steve Roberts build this really beautiful body shell for him. And the body is alloy. It's not fiberglass, it's alloy. And it's really, truly just a work of art. It's absolutely stunning. When they rebuilt the car, they lengthened it slightly and they widened it massively. So I don't know if I can really give you an idea or a sense of how wide this car is, but it's 2.2 metres wide. You can see it has no front spoiler. Initially, they ran it without a rear wing because it's a ground effect car. So the underside of the car is completely flat, has a flat floor. So and then from about here backwards, the floor actually sweeps up. And so, just basically that's what they were using in Formula 1 in the late 1970s. It was banned in Formula 1. They've reintroduced it to Formula 1 now. So basically you're using the air that's travelling underneath the car as opposed to the air that's travelling over the top of the car to suck the car onto the ground. Problem for McRae by that stage, I believe that he's brought the car back to the Can-Am series, I think in 1981, and did a few races in 1982. I think his best result was about a 5th or a 6th in 1982, but the trouble he was having by then was that he had basically just struggling to finance the project. So it's a real shame. He as a driver was still incredibly fast, and this as a car had the potential to be hugely successful, but he just didn't have the funds to develop it as it should have been developed. I believe he was based in California, and so he basically just ran the West Coast races, and then he sold the car and pretty much retired from racing. So yeah, it's one of those woulda, coulda, shoulda type deals where you sort of wonder how successful the car could have been with given the right amount of funding and the right amount of development. But really a beautiful thing. I absolutely love it. Tim Rush obviously drives the car on occasion. We have historic Formula Libre type races here in New Zealand, and so he runs the car with that, and apparently it's a real blast to drive with the ground effects. Really a beautiful thing.